You got your Bibles, go to the book of Joshua. The book of Joshua, the 3rd chapter. For just a brief moment, I promise I'm not going to be long. I think I'm going to do more teaching. I'm going to do preaching. We'll see how the Lord leads. Amen. Amen. Joshua 3. Let's begin reading at verse 5. I think let's begin reading at verse... let's begin reading at verse 6. You find these words for your hearing. And Joshua spake unto the priests, saying, Take up the ark of the covenant, and pass over before the people. And they took up the ark of the covenant, and went before the people. And the Lord said unto Joshua, This day will I begin to magnify thee in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that as I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. And thou shalt command the priests that bear the ark of the covenant, saying, When you are come to the brink of the waters of Jordan, everybody say the water, ye shall stand still in Jordan. And Joshua said unto the children of Israel, Come hither, and hear the word of the Lord your God. And Joshua said, Hereby shall ye know that the living God is among you, and that he will without fail drive out from before you the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Hivites, and the Perizzites, and the Girgasites, and the Amorites, and the Jebusites. I want to take my text if I can, but just a brief moment. We'll piece this thing together. From that 10th verse. And Joshua said, Hereby shall ye know that the living God is among you, that he will without fail drive out from before you the Canaanites, the Hittites, and the Hivites, and the Perizzites, and the Girgasites, and the Amorites, and the Jebusites. Look at your neighbor and say, Neighbor, we want to talk for just a brief moment about this thought. There are some things worth fighting for. It's another neighbor. Say, neighbor, we're going to talk for a brief moment. A real brief moment. If you say amen, we're going to talk from this thought. There are few things that are worth fighting for. Get to another neighbor and I'll let you take your seat. You got to get out your seat on this one. Go find you somebody you don't know and sit with. Find you somebody you don't have the same eye color. I would tell you to find your enemy, but it's the second service. So hopefully they didn't come back to the second service. Make sure you find you somebody new. Say, neighbor. Say, I may not get to talk to you again, but I need you to understand. We're going to talk for a brief moment about this thought. Tell them we're going to talk for a brief moment about this thought. Some things are worth fighting for. Give the Lord a great big hand clap of praise as you go back to your seats. I just want to talk, and we'll get a little deep into the text. I think it's something to be said for the life of the believer. And I'll preach like I'm talking to believers, and hopefully I'm in the right house at the right time. Amen. In the life of the believer, we go through things that are not normal. Can you say amen? We must admit that the existence of the believer is not a normal existence. There are a few things that we go through that nobody else really goes through, because when you have given your life to Christ, you basically have been picked out to be picked on. Can you say amen? You've basically been selected to go through some trials and go through some tribulations, and a lot of time God does things a little different than we would. Can you say amen? I've had God tell me that I'm going to bless you, and after he got finished talking, I start going down. Can you say amen? And I said, God, it's amazing how you say you're going to bless me, and the very next breath I take, I don't see myself becoming what you said I'm going to be. God tells people I'm going to make you great, and then he begins to take you down, because you must understand, in the kingdom it's not like the world. Can you say amen? In the kingdom, in order to go up, you got to first go down. You know what I mean? Somebody should have got real sanctified right there. In the kingdom, he says if you're going to be exalted, then you got to learn how to humble yourself. Can you say amen? And anytime God begins to talk, you got to understand, God doesn't think like we think. Isaiah tells us that. He says that his thoughts are not our thoughts, and his ways are not our ways. So when God begins to speak, you got to be able to understand what God is saying. So when God says, I'm going to bless you, you got to understand that you're not just going to get the blessing, but you got to be prepared for the blessing. Y'all ain't saying amen. I need a little help. I promise I won't be long if you help me, but you got to get prepared for the blessing, because God understands if I Can you say amen? So God has to have you in a position where you have to struggle for a little while. So when he brings you out, you look back and say, if it had not been for the Lord that was on my, you know what? I know I was coming to church, but I would have lost my mind if God wouldn't have kept his hands on me. I know I was coming to church, but I would have put my car in reverse and drove off a cliff if God wouldn't have kept his. Oh, y'all sitting there, y'all ain't coming now. Second service like me. And you got to admit, we got to admit that as believers, we go through things. I said that this morning, and we've been trained not to be honest. Can you say amen? We've been trained to lie about what we go through. But when I'm in trouble, I don't want to tell you I'm doing good. When I'm in trouble, I need somebody I can call and say, Bishop, I'm in trouble. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I need some help. Something about church. Y'all ain't saying that, man. Nobody goes to the emergency room and tell them you doing okay. They don't sit there and wait for 4 hours to get in front of the doctor, and then the doctor say what's wrong, and you say, no, I'm blessed and highly favored. Well, you should have stayed your behind at home then, because the only people in here are people that need help. The only people in this emergency room are people that need assistance. Y'all ain't saying that. And if you got it together, you know what? Don't even bother showing up next Sunday, because we need some people that are going to be real. So when I show you what I'm going through, I ain't got to worry about you judging me, because what you'll do is say, hey, take a look right there. I got the same scar. I done been where you've been. I know what you've been going through. So allow me to encourage you and tell you that if God brought me out, then guess what, baby? He can bring you out. Sit down, we got a long way to go. And so there's something to be said about the life of the believer. The songwriter says our life is filled with swift transition, and we go from one extreme to the other. I like to call it peaks and mountains, Bishop, because there's sometimes when you're going to be on the top and everything you do is going to be good. You're going to come through the doors and you're going to cut a step as soon as you come in, because you just got a check in the mail, your baby's doing good in school, everything is going right, and you say, you know what, I just want to give God glory about how good he's been to me. And so you come in and we can't beat you shouting. Y'all ain't saying amen. We can't get you to sit down, we can't get you to be quiet, because everything is going good and you're on the mountaintop. But please understand that you can't live on the top of the mountain. You got to get in the valley to get to the next mountain. Y'all ain't saying amen. And when you go in the valley, I'm preaching already, stuff starts going wrong. Can you say amen? Your money get funny when you're in the valley. Can you say amen? Children start acting crazy when you're in the valley. Husbands start acting crazy when you're in the wives start acting crazy when you're in the valley. But what I'm looking for is somebody who can give God a mountaintop praise in the middle of the valley. Can you still tell him thank you? Even though you ain't on the mountaintop, I'll look up and say, God, I give you glory. Anyway, I love the song they just sung because of who you are. I give you glory, not because of what you've done, because I can't get wrapped up in all of my possessions, because they can come get the house tomorrow. The house may catch on fire tonight. They can come get the car tomorrow. But guess what I'll do when I wake up in the morning? Even if I'm outside on the front lawn, I lift my hands in front of my neighbors and say, God give it and the Lord take it away. Bless me. That's in my intro. I got a long way to go. Give me a minute. So we got to admit that God has to prepare us for the blessing first, ain't it? And he has to take us through things to get us ready. Because what we do not want to believe is, even though we've been in church for 1,000 years, there's still some stuff wrong with us. You know, a song and everybody's quiet. You know, record it with the max quiet, and all that's wonderful, but there's still something wrong with you. And God says, before I can give you, watch this, and I'll show you what I plan for you to have, I've got to get some stuff off of you. So he begins to talk. Even before we get to Joshua, he deals with the children of Israel through Moses. He goes, y'all know the story, I'll paraphrase and make it quick. He goes into Egypt and he tells Pharaoh, let my people go. And Pharaoh says, you know what, the first thing he does, read the scripture. He says, let them go. And then God changes his mind, he hardens his heart. And so as they were